Reductive landscape, subtractive drawing, eraser, charcoal. Alright, so what I have here is a nice piece of pastel paper. I have taped an edge around the outside, and I have a reference image of a landscape. This reference image has a really good range of values and contrast. You're going to notice that there are really white whites and really dark darks. We're going to be doing what's called a subtractive or reductive drawing. Basically, we're going to be erasing highlights and adding shadows using charcoal and eraser and eraser sticks. To prepare our drawing surface, I'm going to take a piece of vine charcoal, which is really soft, and I'm going to apply a layer to my paper. It doesn't need to be very thick. I'm going to go ahead and take a tissue and start to blend this thing in, trying to get it to be smoothed out so that it's not blotchy. You can go left to right, up and down, circular motion, whatever you have to do. We're just trying to get our paper to be kind of tinted dark or shaded dark. So I'm going to go ahead and add another layer on here. It doesn't have to be solid black. Just want a nice clean coat of charcoal. Once you have that finished, just to show you, I can take a pencil here and the eraser end of it, and you've got a nice different drawing surface, something that's non-traditional, where you're actually just erasing in the highlights, and you can take a tissue to blend it back over it if you don't really like the lines. The next step is I'm going to use a white charcoal pencil to apply a grid. In this case, I'm enlarging my reference image by 2, so this is a 2-inch grid. Make sure that you have squares when you're finished drawing the grid. You have squares and not rectangles, and we'll be ready to start the drawing process. So again, I am using a white charcoal pencil. I'm drawing pretty lightly. I'm not trying to press too firmly because I do want the white charcoal to be erased once this process is completed. Try to maintain accuracy, try to draw as accurately as you can. Notice in the sky here, I'm just trying to draw the different shapes that the clouds are making, the different dark areas and the different light areas. And we have a finished drawing. Taking a look at my reference image again, we have a really good range of values. We've got highlights, we've got midtones, we've got shadows, a whole range of values. And in order to create the highlights, we're going to use erasers. So in this case, for the large areas, I'm going to use a large eraser, and then for the tiny detail areas, I'm going to use an eraser stick to create the highlights. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of start in just on creating highlights. This is just to start creating some contrast within my drawing so I can figure out areas to work on. So I'm going to make sure that I'm erasing the highlights in the sky. So wherever I see white, I want to try to erase that. Probably a good idea to use a large eraser on large areas. And once we get into the detail areas, like in the barn and in the grass and in the weeds, I'm going to use this eraser stick. And you're going to find that you can get pretty detailed with these tiny erasers. So like the area of the wood paneling on the barn here, I'm just kind of varying my pressure, but just trying to recreate the lines that are within the wood structure. For bushes, just kind of looking at the direction that the plant life is growing and trying to mimic that. So you're going to notice in your picture that there's, if you have a good range of values, there's a lot of really dark values, a lot of blacks and dark grays. And what we currently have on our drawing doesn't have that. So we're going to use a charcoal pencil as well as some condensed charcoal sticks to add those really dark blacks and grays to our drawing. I'm going to kind of focus in here on the barn area just to give you an idea. And I'm looking at all of just the black areas of the picture and trying to put those in there. So really kind of start to set the drawing off so that we have our whites and we have our blacks, and then all we need to do is sort of finish up the finishing touches on the gray areas and add some detail. Now in the sky area we've got bigger chunks of black, so I'm going to use some condensed charcoal. I don't want to put this on too thick because it will get really black really quick. We can smear with our finger or with a tissue or with a blending stump. Since this is just the initial stage of the sky, I'm just going to use my finger and a blending stump for now. Again, I'm just trying to create some contrast in the sky. I'm going to add some dark shadows under the weeds that are in front of the barn, blend those in. I can take my eraser stick and go back in and make the highlights within those weeds. Again, I'm starting to add some more value to the barn. It's darker on the left side. Again, there's some highlights in the wood paneling that I'm using to erase. I'm just going to keep repeating this process until we have a finished drawing. One nice thing about using the charcoal in this method is that you can always erase and add more. Here we have the finished drawing. Good landscape, good range of values, everything's blended nice and smooth. There's a lot of details, a lot of highlight areas and shadow areas. Here's an example of some student work. Again, this should be a landscape. Subject matter is completely up to you. Could be a forest, could be a desert, could be mountain range, train tracks, snow scene, a seascape, lighthouse, foggy scene, whatever you prefer. If you'd like to take your picture, your own original photograph and use this, that way you are creating an original piece of artwork. This is a photo I took of my creek and rendered the subtractive drawing of that photo.